Alright, so it's been many years and I have never publicly shared my testimony. So prayerfully, I feel that it's time. And there's a lot to it, but I'm going to summarize it. It's the story of how I came to know our Creator and He set me free from a lot of darkness. So I'll hop right into it. When I was younger, I was brought up in not a very religious home. I was raised by a single mother, still incredibly loved by my father, but I didn't see him a lot. And that took a very big toll on me when my parents got divorced when I was 6 years old, or just about to turn 6. And I didn't even realize how much that affected me until I was in my probably 20s, and that's when the Lord started to do His work in me and bring incredible healing and deliverance. My walk as a preteen, as a teen, as a young adult, was always struggling to find purpose and identity and to find love. And so I searched for it, just like many of us do, in all the wrong places. And I remember at a very young age in elementary school is when it all really, really started. And I became heavily depressed, very suicidal. I was on medication for anxiety and depression. My mom was not allowed to have any sharp objects in the house. I would always have hidden razor blades around in my room. There was a lot of anger, a lot of sadness, and a lot of depression, some of which I wouldn't be delivered of until I was in my 30s, fully set free. And that's a whole other story. I have some videos talking about that, but I'm sure I will talk more about that because I am very passionate now about people getting free from heaviness, from depression, from anxiety, not just on an emotional healing level, but a spiritual level as well, because as I'm sure a lot of us already know, there's so many layers to it that the Lord wants to reveal and set you free from. And so going through that heaviness and that depression, it led me to seeking a higher truth. So I was never raised in a religious home, even though occasionally come elementary school, probably, early on in elementary school, we would occasionally go to a Catholic church. So we claimed to be a Catholic family, and we went through all the Catholic rituals and that sort of stuff. And I do believe that looking back, God spoke to me through that in many different ways. I believe He speaks to all of us through many different ways, many different religions and different avenues, even ones that are not the truth, right? But He calls us in different ways, and He just knows how to reach us, even through things that are off and that aren't the truth. And going through Catholicism, I never had that relationship with the Lord. I think a lot of you may have had that experience, not just in Catholicism, but in other religions where it felt dry, right? It felt just like you're going through the motions, you're doing it to be a good person, or you're there out of obligation, or you're there because your family's making you go. So in my case, it was because my family was making me go. And we went, I think it was probably until late elementary when I started really refusing it, because I just hated it. I just didn't want to go, wasn't getting anything out of it. And come high school, for sure, I had a bigger say in what I was doing. Come high school, I had complete control over my own life, essentially. God bless my mom. I know raising, me and my sister was difficult and a lot of work, and I will never, ever fully understand what it's like to be a single parent. I can't imagine how difficult it would be. I always say I don't know what I would do if I didn't have my husband. helping me deal with my children. I would go insane. So God bless all you single parents. Seriously. So yeah, being raised by my mom, but so come high school, I really had a lot more free reign over my life as I became more rebellious and more outspoken. And so when I came out of Catholicism, in a way, like, I didn't want anything to do with it, but I was still open-minded to be able to receive the truth from any way I could find it. And that's really what I wanted. Is I was so lost. I was so depressed coming out of elementary school. I just wanted to end my life. I had nothing to live for. I would scream and cry every single day, every single night. I would lock myself in my closet, which was like my safe space. I would barricade myself in my bedroom, make homemade locks on my door, and then barricade myself in my closet on top of that. And I practically lived in that closet. I lived in that closet. I made a home in that closet. Because I just wanted to escape, but I had nowhere to go. I would run away from home multiple times, get picked up by the police to be brought back home. I just wanted to escape. I wanted to escape life. To me, it was horrible. There was nothing there except for sadness and anger. And it wasn't even necessarily an environmental thing. I did have a great home. I don't believe I was emotionally supported the way I should have been. God bless my mother and my family. I had a horrible relationship when I was younger with my sister. I didn't have my father around, which was really, really needed. I had great friends in elementary school. Lovely, amazing, sweet girlfriends. I had one that was probably a pretty bad influence. But it was just, I had all this hurt inside. I think a lot of it was from my father leaving, and just not knowing who I was. You know, I didn't have anyone speaking identity into me. I didn't have anyone talking to me about life, what life truly was. Why am I even alive? Like, I'm alive just to go to school, come back home, and just deal with this emotional anger. I hated it. So the one thing coming out of late elementary school and going into early high school that I gravitated towards the most was witchcraft. And like I had mentioned, I was very open to whatever the truth might be, whether that be in Catholicism, in Buddhism, in Hinduism. It could have been anything. And so I did dabble in a lot of religions, and I did have a lot of friends that had a lot, like a very varied, diverse background. So I was able to have, good, healthy, deep conversations with people, and I kind of clung to any truth that I thought just resonated with me, that just felt right. And so I was open to everything. I was open to absolutely everything. But the one thing that I clung to the most was witchcraft, and more the paranormal, this supernatural. I got pretty heavily into that starting in late elementary. And in late elementary, it started more so because that was when the idea of witchcraft became very popular in a children's entertainment sense. You know, we had Harry Potter and all that stuff that came out, and teen movies like The Craft, which I really got sucked into, and it presented something that just felt totally opposite of what religion was showing, and something that was more of an inward power that you could access and learn about, that was tangible. Like, it felt real, right? And it did become very real to me because I got heavily into it. I would be at the bookstore every single day buying whatever book I could find on witchcraft, and particularly any book I could find on Wicca. I loved Wicca. I loved how deeply connected it was to the earth and to nature, to Mother Nature, because I've always had a very passionate heart for nature and for animals. Like I always wanted to be a vet. I always wanted to do, I don't know, some sort of outdoor work or something. Still, that's where my heart leaps the most, is when I'm out in nature and when I'm with creation. And that is now where I connect with God the most. And that's something he had to rewire in my mind coming out of witchcraft, and I'm sure as coming out of other religions, just coming out of the world. It's funny how sometimes there's a lot of rewiring in your mind that you have to do. So when I would go outside and I would associate like collecting herbs with like making potions or doing incantations or whatever, or being out in nature and just feeling that like power, that energy or whatever, it took me a while, even as a Christian, for God to rewire my heart and my mind to realize I'm connecting with the creator of the universe. I'm connecting with God right now. And that's one of the things that only as of recently, the light bulb went off and that switch was made. And I'm so incredibly grateful for that, because that's something I prayed for a long time. And there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. When you realize that what you believed in your whole life, or what you thought was truth, gets flipped and you have the revelation, that revelation, and it gets flipped to the truth. It's hard to explain, but if you know what I'm talking about, you know that feeling, and it's just like your eyes are opened and you're like, wow, like this is what I've been missing. Like it's just been clouded over by misunderstandings and wrong belief systems. So come late elementary school, that's where I found a lot of purpose and a lot of identity. And it's something that actually felt like there was something there. Like I felt I had connected to the truth. I connected to a hidden power that a lot of people don't know about or don't believe in or don't understand. And, I was pretty much alone on this. I had a couple of other friends and family members that maybe started getting into witchcraft and the New Age and stuff, but it wasn't as big as a thing back then, I don't think, or it just started kind of. And so that's when all like the psychics came out and all that stuff, and we would go to like the psychic fairs all the time and have psychics to our houses and stuff, and the stories. I could tell you so much. I don't want this video to go too long. So maybe I can do little videos on like separate topics, or if you guys want to hear about something, you can comment below, because there's like so much detail I can give on so much, but I just wanted this to be just a summary of my testimony. But yeah, I got into everything. I ended up getting into tarot reading. I became a yoga practitioner, but that's something different later in life. So I got into a lot of New Age outside of witchcraft. And so the power that I felt and the connection that I felt to this belief system or this faith or whatever, this religion, was very real. And it is very real. And if any of you have ever been in the occult before, or anything tied to witchcraft or New Age or anything like this, you know that it's real, that there is something to it. It's not just like some of it is all like floofy, and there's nothing really behind it, but there is a very real spiritual side to it. So I was beginning to feel that in my room, feel that in my home, feel that in my life, see it manifest, see things come to pass. It was very real. It was very tangible. But it became very dark, very fast. And I would start seeing entities in my room, in my home. I would start hearing things. We would start, summoning the dead and stuff and playing with Ouija boards, just me and friends casually. Friends who, like in high school, who weren't really into it, but they would do it just for fun with me. But I was like, no, like, I want to be in this, I want something higher than myself. Like, I want to feel like a purpose and a power in this life. And so, yeah, we would do crazy stuff like that. And I remember one occasion that really sticks with me. And I'm so grateful to God for it, because I really feel like it shows His protection. I'm so grateful. I was playing around in the basement with a couple of friends. This is not to glorify the enemy. This is to glorify God. God and his goodness and his protection. And I was a young teen. I was in high school, and we were messing around with a spirit that was in our house, in my house, in my basement, and we were telling it to do things, and it would do things in the other room. Like, it would mess around with like dolls and like stupid, like, you know, like horror movie stuff, twist their heads around and stuff. Like, at the time it was like, oh my gosh, like, you're so freaked out but so excited and stuff, and so silly. But very evil, very dark. Like, no, you don't want to mess around with this stuff. But and we would be sitting in a room, and it would touch us, but it wouldn't touch me. It would touch my friends, and they'd freak out at the same time and feel it, but it wouldn't touch me. And I remember being upset about stuff like that, like, and it would make me dig harder. It would make me try to summon more. It would make me try to, you know, I don't know, whatever, dig deeper into this stuff because I felt left out. But looking back, I see, wow, like, God's protection. God is so good. Even though there's still a lot of darkness and stuff that I did go through, like, looking back, I do see God there. And it's incredible. So there's a lot of experiences that I had like that. And that time frame of me like dabbling in that stuff didn't actually last very, very long. But I did get casually into the new age, and I did end up becoming a yoga practitioner and everything. I started teaching yoga, prenatal and postnatal yoga specifically. And less like witchcraft, more new age, even though honestly it's all the same thing, just packaged under different names, and it's all the same thing. It's run by the same spirits. And after my kind of experience with that, I ended up struggling more with finding love. It's like, it felt like, okay, I found this power, I found this spiritual side, but it's still so empty. It still didn't leave me filled where I really needed to be filled, where I was really missing at my core. I didn't have that. Even though like people were starting to fill me, and that's the biggest thing, is I was then starting to turn to people. I was starting to turn to friends and boyfriends to fill me as much as possible. I would give myself wholly to anybody that would have me, that would take me, anyone that would show me any bit of affection or attention. And that was my life lived. I became this chameleon. I would become whoever anybody wanted me to be. And that was my high school and early college experience. Religion kind of took a back burner, but there were moments where I really, really experienced God, where either I went to a Catholic school because, you know, we had the label of Catholicism. It was no different than any other school, than a public school. The stuff we went through was horrific. Like, but you know, there would be a chaplain at school that would just say something to me that really resonated with my heart, and really started, she would speak to me on God and his love and how she experienced God and who she knew to be God to be. And it would just be these casual little things here and there that would just stick with me, like seeds, right? And they would grow with me. And having the chapel there at school actually was a godsend, because in really dark moments in high school, that's the only place I had to run to. I didn't have anywhere else. I didn't have any other religion. I didn't have any friends to talk to. I definitely didn't have family to talk to. I didn't have I didn't have a mosque, I didn't have a church, I didn't have anything to turn to, but that chapel was there. And I remember multiple times at school, just when I was going chaotic, I would run to that chapel and I would get on my knees and say, like, God, if you're even real. And I would just talk, or I would pray and I would cry. And I do, looking back, I see that was a way that God reached me. The one the one time I remember God really, 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 really hitting me, and this was before I really, really gave my life to Him, was going on a camping trip. And we had to go to a church before we had to go on this camping trip. And we were sitting in the church. They were doing like, I guess it was kind of like through somebody, and it was like a church trip. We never did, I don't remember doing churchy stuff on this camping trip. But I guess maybe they had like a little talk beforehand or something. And I don't know if it was a pastor that was up front. Like, I can't even remember. Just nothing stood out to me at all through this experience, except I started weeping in this church because I felt this heavy, tangible love. Like, that's the only way I could explain it. This love and this pull and this conviction of it's so hard to explain. Like, words couldn't even put it. It's hard to even put it to words, but I would weep and weep and weep. And I remember looking at my friends and asking them, "You're not feeling this? Like, are you feeling this? Like, what is this? What's happening?" And I had no idea what was going on. And looking back, now I know what it was. It was the Holy Spirit. That was the Holy Spirit touching me and convicting me and revealing Himself to me. And again, it wouldn't be till years later that my life really, really transformed. But looking back, I can see God there. My high school years were still an absolute wreck. I would get in fights all the time. I would get arrested. I would get suspended from school. I had a million different boyfriends, like every day of the week. I was a wreck, and it was just because I was searching. I had no idea between right and wrong. Even though I was convicted in my heart, like I knew when things were like, oh my goodness, I was known for stealing. Like, that's what that's what I was known for in school. And it's like I knew it was wrong, but I didn't have that heart understanding. So that's what it was like for me with everything that I was going through and the way that I was acting out. I was just doing whatever was cool, whatever felt good, whatever gave me purpose, or whatever somebody else wanted me to do or wanted me to be. And then so it wasn't until college where I started really maturing a bit differently, and where the Lord led me to my husband. That's a whole story in itself, that testimony, that I was in and out of relationships since late elementary school until early college, and that's when I said enough is enough. And when God was calling me, and I said, "Lord, I'm going to focus on you and let you bring my husband, if I'm even meant to have a husband." And I stopped dating anyone. I refused to date anybody, and the Lord brought my husband. But that's when things really started to change, and I started seeing God speak to me and interact with me in different ways, like through speakers that would come to the college, and things would just really hit home, really resonate in my heart. And then I ended up dating a guy who was going to church and then brought me to church for an entire year. And honestly, I don't know how much I really got out of that other than seeds that were planted from the Lord. And but the biggest life-changing moment for me was when my husband and I think I have a testimony video on this, but when my husband and I were dating, and we moved to Halifax together for a few months, and we were by ourselves, and we had nothing. We had no friends, we had no community, we had no church, we had nothing really. The Lord was kind of pulling my heartstrings, but not so much my boyfriend at the time, until the Lord audibly spoke to my husband there in Halifax on our bedroom floor. I'd have to ask him exactly what he said again, but he said something along, like, the Lord spoke to my husband and said something like, "Speak to me and read my word," or something like that, and it just blew his mind. And I just had, it was almost like just a bunch of little light bulbs started going off in my mind. And I got my own Bible, and I started reading about Jesus. And it was like, reading the Bible before didn't mean anything to me. Like, it did because I was searching for truth. But in anything, like I would read the Quran and I would read the Bible and I would just I would look through it just searching for truth or hoping something would stand out to me. And finally, for the first time in my life, it's like every time I would read the Bible, it's like light bulbs would go off and I would get it. Like I would just understand it. And it was so mind-blowing that I knew it couldn't have been me. Like it wasn't my own understanding. It's like I knew a higher power had to give me this understanding. It was just so different from the way that I ever thought or ever perceived things or ever saw things before. Like I understood God to the degree that he gave me, but I understood Jesus. I understood God coming down and saving us and paying for our sins. It made total sense. And then it was like his Holy Spirit just came in, just flooded me, completely flooded me, and I knew God. Like it's gonna make me cry, because you go your whole life believing somehow deep down that there's more to life, that there's gotta be a higher power out there that made me, that made everything, that made all this incredible creation. We can't just be nothing. I don't want to believe I'm just a rock that evolved from nothing. I didn't want that. And then to struggle looking through all these different belief systems, all these spiritual avenues, trying to find identity for so long and being broken for so long. And then in an instant to meet your maker, but so much more intimately than just face to face, but to actually be filled with him is unbelievable. And it's so honoring and so humbling. Just, Lord, that you would allow me to know you. It's just phenomenal. And all those years of struggling and acting a certain way and being a certain person, a lot of the things I dealt with fell off immediately. There was a lot of things my husband and I were struggling with that just disappeared. It ended overnight. Things we struggled with for years, or things we didn't know we even needed to get rid of, and things we wanted to stop doing or acting out in certain ways and we couldn't out of our own strength and means, and overnight, when we accepted God and Jesus into our lives, we're just gone. They're just gone. Now, not everything, because there are even still things to this day. It's been like 11 years since God saved us. And there are still things that the Lord is pulling out and revealing that needs to be dealt with. And he does that on purpose. He does things in the perfect timing. But he literally transformed me. And one of the biggest things that he has taught me and exposed to me through this, because I think walking through witchcraft and the New Age and that darkness for so long is something that I really want you guys to take away from this, or if you've had experience with this and you understand, please, let's talk about this, is that the Lord exposed the darkness out of it. What seemed to be for me at the time, seemed to be serving me, seemed to be the truth, seemed to be light. The moment I accepted God into my life, it turned against me. It revealed its true nature and what it really was. And it is darkness. It is deception. And it was destroying me. And the biggest evidence of that to me is when God has entered me and he transformed me, and he completely transformed my life. My entire life is dramatically different, and it's only because of God and the way that God is leading me in my life. And there were things I could have said that out of New Age and stuff that transformed my heart, or made me a better person, or made me a more peaceful person. and this is a whole different topic on itself, because it's so deceiving. You think that you're on the right path. You think you're becoming a better person. You think you're growing. You're thinking you're becoming one with people in the universe and whatever. And really, it is destroying you. And you don't realize it until you actually get transformed, until you actually experience the truth. And then it blows your mind. It blows your mind. And you can't explain it unless you experience it. Like you can't understand it unless you experience it. It's like trying to explain to somebody what coffee tastes like who's never had coffee before, or trying to explain to somebody what having kids is like who have never had kids before. You can only do it to a certain degree, but until you experience it yourself, you really don't understand the depths. And those are like the worst examples ever. But it's just an example. Just trying to find an example. But yeah, the Lord exposed the darkness in all of this, and there have been things over the years that have entered my life and my spirit through experiencing witchcraft and the New Age and other religions and stuff that have clung on to my life and has stayed even into my Christian walk, that has need to be delivered and need to be dealt with. And I've gone through some pretty extreme demonic deliverances because of it, and that's a whole other story too. But once you taste freedom, freedom is God. Once you taste love, love is God, you're not going to want to go back to anything else. Once you have the truth, you don't want anything else. I've experienced everything else, and I've realized that it's all a facade. It's all a distraction. It's all twisting of the truth to keep you away from the truth. You'll never find true peace outside of Jesus. You'll never be filled outside of Jesus. Whatever you are seeking for in life that is good and pure and love, you'll never find it outside of Jesus. That is incredible. God is incredible. So that is my testimony. I pray, God, that I got everything that you wanted me to say in this, because I know there's a lot more to my story. But I pray that was all that was needed to be said. And I pray God blesses every single one of you guys that's watching this. Whether you're in the New Age right now, or you're in a different religion right now, you're atheist, whatever, wherever you are in your walk, I pray that you could get something meaningful out of this message. I mean, above all else, I pray that, you get a glimpse of God and who he truly is and how much he truly, radically, dramatically loves you. Look how good God is to let us go through such a walk in life, because he wants us to be free, and he wants us to find him sincerely and not out of being forced into a relationship with him. That is true love. But to look back and to see that through the darkness, he's always there. He's always there. Even when you don't feel it, you'll look back one day and you'll say, wow, you were always there. And then he's going to use your story and use that darkness for others. You have a greater purpose behind everything that you're going through. So don't give up. Keep searching and keep looking for him, because you will find him. All right, God bless you guys. I'll see you in the next video.